everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tuber. Welcome back. If this is your fifth High School Musical, the series, season 3 episode review. It's been a long week. For me, it has been. I'm back in the set. I'm back to the normal arrangement. It was a very hot. I feel like I recorded another episode in between then and there. I want to say I'm not really sure. Like last week feels so long ago to me. Then again, time is just so subjective nowadays that you could just tell me that last week's episode was 5 weeks ago. I would be inclined to believe you. But this week on High School Musical, the music of the series, it is, I think, the best episode of the season so far. It ironically was trying to deliver the most fakest performance of the 5 because of the theme, but it somehow was the real boiling point. We're at the true halfway mark of the season so far. Where like everything's coming to head, like everything's coming out, like where everyone's starting to know about. At least one person's knowing about another person's problem. We're starting to really figure out what is the general direction that the rest of the season is going to go, and it's going to keep you guessing. Like it gives you a little bit of teases of how things could be, but then again, we're still very much left in the unsure. And again, them knowing ahead of time that like, yeah, we are getting a season 4, and that maybe some of this tension doesn't have to exactly end this season. Like we can definitely pick things up in season 4. But there's a lot of things. Like definitely, I think I'm more interested on where things are going to be like in season 4, which is a really good thing. Like because the season is already over in like 3 weeks, so it's not too far away. But the fact is that they're going to take all that energy from the summer camp and go back into school with all that and just. Oh man, it's going to be an interesting time next season, especially. But I'm still curious to see how this season is going to wrap it up. But for this episode, I think it was the best so far. I think it delivered the best performances. Definitely, it just leaves me wanting more on to what next week's episode is going to bring. But with that being said, let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of HSMTMTS. So we begin. We're at a summit meeting. EJ, Val, and Carlos are presented to everyone, and yes, it is clear that Gina's still a little miffed at EJ for keeping this whole St. Louis move a secret from her, which, again, EJ, understanding his point, like, he has no plans to move to St. Louis. It's just that if he is going to take a gap year, his dad at least wants it on his terms, which that's not what EJ wants. So, anyway, back to the main premise of this. So, he basically loosely explains that, hey, listen, the producer and Corbin all believe we're boring as fuck. We're not interesting for the camera. There's absolutely nothing going on between us. So we have to sell them that we are fake. And it's so bad right now, their public response from Corbin, that Corbin's actually at another summer camp right now scouting out the talent there for recasting the show. And obviously they're kind of having to make sure that they're ready to like, okay, we need to perform a fake performance to prove to them we got the stuff to make it a reality on Disney Plus, which is actually ironic. Which I've always heard the phrase that reality shows are fake, which I'm like, I can see that. I'm not gonna say my life has been much of a reality show, but I can say there have been moments where like it could be on a reality show, but it's not consistent. Like when you're on a reality show, like you gotta have drama, you gotta have issues each and every week. Otherwise, you're not really making things interesting. In my opinion, that's the thing. So Carlos, being somehow the drama queen expert of the group, has decided to make a fake reality show mindset for everyone to follow called the Real Campers of Shallow Lake, or Rocks. I don't know how to pronounce whatever the hell Gina said, but yeah, so they're going to perform a fake reality show just for the sake of making sure that they have a show so they can have a platform. This is very weird. This is why the only reality show I'm interested in is Jersey Shore, and I completely forgot they came back on the air, so I'm like, oh boy, I got a lot of catching up to do or whatever fucking drama they get into. But it is what it is on there. So Carlos starts casting the hypothetical reality show with all the major tropes, all the cliche tropes, and honestly, now that I can really consider, it's like, yeah, there is a formula to reality show. Now that I really think about it, so. Everyone's cast, but obviously the real drama between EJ and Gina is slowly seeping in, and of course, obviously, there's just a lot of other unanswered questions, unanswered feelings, emotions that like everyone should be tackling on sooner than later, but they're choosing not to. But anyway, they start rehearsing these fake slap scenes, which I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what, I can agree with on this, but like everyone's just not actors. Like they just can't act to slap really, especially EJ and Ricky, who I'm like, who they even thought of pairing these two up? Like who even? Like did we really need that? Like we already know how this is gonna go, and honestly, this is where like this is like the moment where I'm like, okay, this episode's gonna be a good one, where they're not acting at hell. Like they're just really just not acting at all. And Carlos is giving them like a fake backstory so they can maybe be motivated to put some more feeling into these slaps. And they're using their real life conflicts, their real life doubts for it. And Ricky just ends up actually slapping EJ, which I'm like, damn. Like, damn, I wouldn't have gone that far, but like, damn. And EJ's taking it chill. He's taking it cool because he knows, like, it's a Disney show. We can't be fighting. No physical fights on a Disney show for kids. So, yeah, so he's holding his breath. They're really holding it out. And, it's becoming apparent, like, yeah, Ricky does actually have feelings for Gina. Somehow. So they're all rehearsing. Ashley and Gizmo are slowly kind of becoming friends. Apparently, Gizmo's been tasked to perform fake crying on command, which I'm like, oh god. I think I've only cried like a handful of times in my life, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, where do we go with that? Trying to think. So, yeah, oh yeah, apparently the producer, the cameraman, I'm not the producer, the cameraman comes back in apparently to kind of be Corbin's eyes and ears as, Corbin's busy at the other camp, so like he's back over here to give the Shallow Lake campers one more chance in order to prove themselves to be worthy of being on Disney Plus. So they start to perform, and at first it's like kind of cliche. It is pretty funny to see Carlos in the Olaf costume, which I'm like, I don't even know how convincing they did to make him that short, but it was actually pretty convincing. Eventually, their fake drama starts coming in. They're starting to like really check off the cliche points the cameraman's really interested in, and even though like this is all generic reality show tropes, but I guess the cameraman is just like hoping for a hit, and he's just taking mediocrity as as critically praised, or however you want to phrase it. We get to I don't know if this is a Frozen song or an original song. We get to see Ricky and Gina act like ex-lovers, but then in reality have like a little feelings for each other. And they're performing this very close song, like this. They're very close to each other. EJ's very uncomfortable while he's wearing the reindeer suit, and it just feels uncomfortable. Like Justin, the only moment I can akin to this, again, this is like just me just watching a lot of other TV shows to relate to this. Like the only thing I can relate to EJ's pain is like when, if anyone remembers the show Big Time Rush, when in season 2 where Kendall found out that Joe actually got cast on a CW show and they had to perform a kissing scene, and I'm like, okay, like, here's the thing, and I had to learn this the kind of like the rough way, is that just because you kiss someone doesn't mean you're interested in them. And I mean, then again, they didn't kiss, but I'm just saying, like, Kendall was really jealous that, like, just because these two actors were kissing, that means, like, oh, they have a thing for each other. Not all the times they do. So, but I could definitely feel EJ was like very worried about like their chemistry. It was like it was felt the energy, like there was something actually there. Like they were really putting something more into this energy. And so where do we go from here? I believe next scene we go to, yeah. So the next scene we get is, I want to say, yeah, I already lost my train of thought. I think they wrap shooting the fake pilot or the fake test footage, if you want to call it, I believe. Yeah, because I know they continued Frozen rehearsals for a little bit longer, and then it just suddenly stopped. I know after the whole dance thing, I think Gina goes outside for a bit, and is decompressing a little bit after just all the emotion. EJ's talking to her about it, and yeah, it's becoming clear that like, yeah, she kind of knows about the letter, but they don't really get to handle it because like they gotta focus on the rehearsal, focus to make sure that everything's gonna work out right. EJ comes back in, the producer says bye to them, saying like, yeah, this is gonna work, this is gonna definitely like succeed on some front, so we got something, so we're gonna come back here with like the full support of Corbin and like proceed forward with the show. Ricky goes outside, sees Gina. They briefly talk for a bit about just their emotion. The cameraman still thinks they're a real ex couple, so he's just making jokes like, "Hey, lovebirds, don't get too acquainted like off camera. Like, wait for me to like start rolling it." And Gina's like being like the friendly version of her, like sort of like just explaining like her problems with EJ right now, and just giving the vague version of it. And Ricky's just trying to be as supportive as he can at this moment. The cameraman returns back in to say that they need a promo shoot for like obviously you can't have a Disney Plus show without having some cast photo together for the group shot. So they do. So that takes a little bit of a while. They have this banner that Ricky holds called "It's Frozen Time." Like, I don't know, every time someone says it's blanking time, it just reminds me of It's Morbin Time. And I know it's like It's Morphing Time from Power Rangers was the one to really start it off, but just Morbius, like, damn, I can't get away from that movie. So they finished the photo shoot, and they were pretty tired. Like, I don't even know, like, for a second, like, this scene, I think, was kind of debatable a little bit because I feel like they were like, well, they're off camera now, but they're like really acting just so energetic. They're really still acting like they're on camera. Like they're acting like they're actually on a reality show. And slowly but surely, one by one, everyone's just talking about like a little bit of their problem. And it starts escalating a little bit. Like first, they're just thanking Carlos for like leading this fake ship and making sure everyone was like performing the checks and tees to sell the performance. But then eventually it starts exploding. Like, we have Gina making comments about Val, but eventually having an argument with EJ. Then we have Gizmo and giving the assumption that Ashley's a lesbian, or she's into girls, and Jet tries to interject to try and like shut Gizmo up, but then they have an argument as well, and also I freaking made a mistake. Like I thought Val was Jet's sister. It's Gizmo. And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, oh God, the statements I said the last 2 weeks, I apologize. I was completely off on there. I still blame the heat. But regardless, they both out themselves as brothers and sisters to everyone else. And it's really clear that there's still some lingering issues between them. Not on top of Jet, being expelled from high school and him missing a lot of his sister's major recent events. And, there's just a lot of unkept, tension between them and that they shouldn't have as siblings. And everyone else is just blowing up. And for some reason, Ricky's just like overacting here. He's just like what the hell did I just hear? They're siblings? I'm like, bro, you're taking this all way too overreact. That's what my one little problem with these episodes. Like, Ricky's just way too overacting in this scene. And everyone's just dealing with like everyone else is. And then EJ and Gina kind of blow up a bit about the whole, secrecy thing. And EJ's trying to explain it, like, I didn't want to tell you because this wasn't going to be a problem. I was going to like have the show be a success. And I was going to stay in Salt Lake. And like, I'm committed to our relationship. I'm going to fight this through. But Gina just doesn't believe it. Even Ashley's giving EJ some shit about like, his cowardness to like not confess sooner. And she reveals his name to be Elton John Cadwell, which I'm like, everyone's just so shocked. Like, that's why you're called EJ, and everyone just assumed he was like called Eric Jr. or something. And he says like, my dad's name is Cash, which I'm like, brah. It's like Richie Rich. Like, what kind of person came to this country or decided their last name was going to be Rich? Like, who? Gina storms off. She's just not having it. Everyone's just kind of fractured at the moment. And, so everything's kind of like, what the hell is going to happen now? Considering the fact that like, yeah, they have less than a week for the show to actually perform. They've only done a handful of rehearsals, like not even a handful, like not even that much on my one hand. And they got to perform by the end of the week on a Disney Plus level of like, an audience. So they're just wondering, are they actually going to freaking pull this off? So that's another question. Courtney's comforting the younglings, the youngling feeder kids, and they're just like a little baffled in like the way everyone was reacting. Like they're not really fans of that. And Courtney's just like explaining, like, look, it's all for show. It's all about for the documentary. This is not really us. It's just sometimes we just get a little emotional. Sometimes we express these feelings a little bit too much. Ricky finds Jet's hiding spot somewhere like it's not really a hiding spot. It's like really noticeable if you like just look carefully enough. And Ricky's trying to get him to talk, but Jet's not really trying to like connect here. He just wants to get the hell out of here, and he has no choice but to be here. And Ricky's like, well, you're just like us. We're all theater kids. We're all just like a little bit over dramatic. And he's just like saying that I am not a theater kid. I will never be you. Like I'm just stuck here because I have no choice. that's it. Carlos comes by to kind of, sit tight with Ricky as he's also like kind of like a little defeated about the fact that like, yeah, he has feelings for Gina, and he confesses to Carlos that like, yeah, I have feelings for Gina, and I don't know what to do with that because again, she's with EJ, and that kind of creates a conflict of interest right now, considering the fact that, oh god, these people have had so much history by this point, like just less than a year, and there's just, I don't know what else much more to say. I really don't know, but and Carlos is just like, and I love this line. I love this line where Carlos was like, he said something, and I forgot what he said. It's like, oh no, you're gonna confess to me now, and Ricky's like, I gotta tell you something, and Carlos was like, fuck, like why me? Why does it gotta be me? And it's just too hilarious. It really is. And the episode ends. It doesn't end 100%, but like it really ends with Jet going into like one of the music rooms, and he starts playing the piano. And honestly, again, continuing the so far this season's tradition of like every actor, every character is getting their own solo moment with an original song. And Jet, oh my god, this was amazing. Like I'm not gonna say he's Olivia Rodrigo level, and then again, like no offense to any of Olivia or like anyone on the show, like. For me, music is very difficult. It's very like hard for me to give you my seal of approval. It's not to say they're not great artists and they're not great singers. It's just I'm very picky. I'm a very, very picky person with my music. And if this show didn't exist, I would not have listened to any of these guys' songs. But I'm appreciative that this show exists so that I get the opportunity to hear their voices, to hear what they can bring to the table into the world of music. And this scene was very, very powerful because you get to get like a brief glimpse of how Jet and Gizmo's life was, and then I guess puberty set it in, and like how just much they're more separate now, and they really are like far away from each other. Like they're not that far away, but like it's so who's gonna make the first move to repairing this? Gizmo hears the song, and she's hesitant to like go up to him and like talk about it more, but she just runs away. And the episode ends with EJ returning to going to I guess one of the main adult cabins, and calling some number on a phone number saying that, hey, can you come over here? And it's kind of left ambiguous, like who is he calling? Is it Corbin? Is it Nene? Is it his dad? Is like, who is he calling? We don't know, but we'll find out next week, hopefully on the next episode of HSMTMTS, because that was it for this week's episode. So for me, yeah, I was very, very satisfied with this episode. I think it is the best episode of the season so far. We still have 3 more to go, so my thoughts could be changed by the end of the season. Who really knows? But I think this was the right balance, like of the humor of like trying to perform this fake reality show, as well as actually using this as a tool to get all the secrets out there, to like really build tension and drama between them, to really emphasize they have less than a week to go. They're about to do this really big thing on a really big platform, and if they don't get their shit together, they're going to make total fools of themselves or lose the opportunity. And it successfully balances all those elements, and I was really left satisfied for more. I cannot wait for next week to see how this story continues. And also they left a pretty interesting door open, like, because for me, like going into the season, like I honestly thought like, okay, we probably won't get to see Val with the rest of the East High gang, if next season, if they decide to bring them back, because she's in college now, and we don't know what EJ's fate is going to be like next season. There's still a lot of big question marks. And then as for Jet and Gizmo, like an interesting fact is that Jet's expelled from high school, and Gizmo doesn't have any friends. So it would be very wise if they want to continue their story, like have their family move them to East High. Well, the fictional East Side, you know what I mean? But honestly, they really give a great excuse. Like, how could they be involved in the next season, having them move over there and letting them have like literally no string attached to their previous lights outside the camp? Like that's honestly very perfect. And it would honestly suit like filling in the void, giving it more storylines for next season. But again, I'm thinking way too ahead of the curve. They still got this season's storyline to wrap up. But again, for me, like I'm just very excited to see what more is in store. Also, yeah, to comment as well, like, will EJ and Gina survive? Who really knows? Like, they're definitely doing their own spin on the whole Troy and Gabrielle, like, separation as the second movie rolled around for this season. It's working like a team, and I'm actually very questionable. Like, is she gonna still stay with EJ, or is she gonna give Ricky a chance, or is she gonna go just pure single and focus on herself? We really don't know. Like, there's just still a lot of like big question marks, and again, I want the answer. Like, I just want the answers as soon as I can. So hopefully that'll be sooner than later. But again, I would give this episode 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think it's the best one this season so far. So let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode of HSMTMTS? Let's start that conversation down below as always. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 3rd season of High School Musical, the music of the series. If you want to know what we're doing normally at What's the Two, besides our HSMTMTS reviews, next week we're starting our Stargirl Season 3 episode reviews. And just to let you know about that, so Stargirl is premiering also on Wednesday nights on the CW. So, sad to say, this will be the last time you'll see HSMTMTS on its review slot for now on the Thursday time slot. It will be moving over to Fridays. So, if you want to hear me talk more about HSM, I'll be available on Fridays going forward starting next week, because Stargirl will be taking over the Thursday time slot. So stay tuned on that. So we'll be back in more than a week from now. So we'll be back in 8 days. So don't worry. So one more day to wait. One more day to wait. You know, it will all be worth it. I promise you that. But yeah, that'll be next time. But again, this has been What's the Do from ActionX. Please subscribe to us if you have not yet on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share this review if you want to, as well as follow us on the socials to make sure you're up to date with any sort of updates we may have for either of our channels. But until we see each other again next week, for all you Wildcats out there, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.